Speaking of money and speaking of finances, the Golden State Warriors are spending a lot. I don't think a lot as much as a lot of fans would want them to spend. They think Joey Lightyears has infinite bags of money a la Scrooge McDuck. He is not that guy. He may be a shrewd businessman like Scrooge, but there's limits. And he saw the writing on the wall with Jordan Poole, Chris Paul, told Mike Dunleavy, and I'm not saying he's calling the shots, stuff like that, but told Mike Dunleavy basically, yeah, this is what we got to work with. This is what you got. Go do something. And he did. Got rid of Jordan Poole, brought in Chris Paul, signed Dario Saric, got Corey Joseph, re-signed Draymond Green. All right. That's pretty much it for the Golden State Warriors this offseason. And Jason Dumas of Cron 4 News joined Bonte and Shasky yesterday. And again, we'll continue to take your calls and text if you want, because it's all about what you want. At 888-957-9570 on the All-Star Game. We'll continue to take your calls and texts on that. Wanted to jump into the Warriors here for a little bit. Again, Jason Dumas joined the Morning Roast yesterday in studio, and if you missed any of that, be sure to download the Odyssey app. Favorite 95.7 The Game, like, subscribe, all that. That interview is up there. It's also up on the YouTube. Search 95.7 The Game, like, subscribe there, Twitch. And you can find all the highlights as well on the Odyssey website. But Jason came in, and it was interesting. We talked a lot of Warriors, and he's very tapped in. Very, very tapped in with the squad. He was obviously the one that broke when Andrew Wiggins was coming back to the Bay Area. He's broken a lot of things around here in the Bay. You had the whole Ben Simmons thing when he eventually left Philly and went to Brooklyn. So that's not going to work there. But Jason had an interesting couple of nuggets. I want to play some of the sound here for you. One of them was the rise of Jordan Poole and it potentially threatening Klay Thompson's spot in the rotation, in the starting rotation last year. And listen, we all know how poor of a start Klay had last year. He explained about it, talked about it. Hey, listen, he didn't want to ramp up a lot in the summer because of what had happened the 2 previous years. Catastrophic injuries. One in the finals, then one in the offseason. He didn't want that to happen again. I get it. That's a mental block you are going to have to get over at some point. And last summer, coming off a chip, he didn't feel like he needed to push himself. Well, the team suffered early on in the season and continued to suffer throughout the regular season. Not just Klay, the rest of the team. Klay eventually figured it out, obviously having one of the greatest stretches of his career, obviously having the most three-point attempts in the league and the most three-point makes. But the year prior, he saw it. You know, he didn't come back until, what was it, January, February, whatever it was. And Jordan Poole, he was surging. He was playing well. He was getting the starts here and there. And Jason Dumas of Cron 4 News with Bonte and Shasky yesterday discussed that rise of Poole threatening Klay Thompson. Take a listen.
The idea of Jordan Poole, before he went into the postseason slump, helped Steph Curry. And I think Steph realizes that Jordan Poole, the emergence of Jordan Poole on some levels threatens Klay Thompson from a pure basketball standpoint. So you got to keep all that stuff in mind because these are these people's jobs, their livelihoods, how they put food on their plate, egos. So I can see why it kind of went left.
He could see why it kind of went left there. And it was just on the court. It wasn't talking about anything off the court with his attitude or anything like that. It's strictly, hey, listen, they got a young gun in here in Jordan Poole. Hey, I've won 4 titles. I've won prior to that. I've won 3 titles with this team. I'm going to be a Hall of Famer. I am one of the core 3 guys. And I'm going to lose my job to this young punk? No, he's not going to say that. But that's how these guys feel. That's the mindset of the greatest athletes of all time. Hell, we all watched The Last Dance during COVID. We all watched that. That's how these guys are wired. And maybe not to the extreme as MJ, but they take everything personally. They have to. They have to manufacture this constant, what's the word I'm looking for? Motivation, if you will. They have to be constantly on edge, a lot of these guys, because that's what pushes them to be great, to be the greatest at their craft. It's never good enough to just be complacent. Guys like Klay, Steph, Dre, Iguodala. That's what makes them so special. And that's what makes them Hall of Famers. Same with Steve Kerr, Hall of Fame head coach. These guys try to go out and be the best that they could be every single day. And part of that is finding that motivation. And for Klay Thompson, according to Jason Dumas of Cron 4 News, that was Jordan Poole. And he was feeling threatened by him. So 888-957-9570, your thoughts on that. Again, if you're just joining us here on the pregame show, Joe Spadoni discussing All-Star Game, discussing some of the comments made by Jason Dumas, Cron 4. If you're on Twitch on YouTube, you can see this beautiful lighting. Power out at the station. Doors wide open because AC is broken here. So, of course, the AC machine isn't working in the studio. The thermostat's not working. And I do not wish to turn on the fan because that's very loud. So you may or may not hear some sneezes in the background from our own Sam Lubman. But that's all right. It's authentic here. Not sugarcoating anything. At 5:15 a.m. on the pregame show, Joe Spadoni. Power through. Thankfully, I dressed right with this Hawaiian shirt and tank top. If it gets any hotter, maybe I'll just rock the tank top. Don't get that kind of action the rest of the day. Am I right? Oh, boy. 888-957-9570. More from Jason Dumas on the Warriors having to make CP3 feel important. And this goes back to egos. Just talking about Klay Thompson. Egos. Feels threatened by Jordan Poole. Draymond Green. Ego. Clearly felt threatened by Jordan Poole again, so much so that he punched him in the face. Stephen Curry, there's an ego there. Jonathan Kuminga, clearly an ego. He went to talk to CJ Holmes of the San Francisco Chronicle during the playoffs to voice his frustrations. And now you add in one of the biggest, reportedly, and Chris Paul. And here's Jason Dumas talking about the Warriors having to massage that ego, if you will. Take a listen.
He's a true man of his word. He says exactly what's on his mind. We already saw it on display in that first presser. So it'll be interesting. It's important for the Warriors to get off to a good start. And if he does come off the bench and they're playing well, I think the Warriors are going to they'll be going all in on the PR front. Chris Paul, 6th man of the year. Oh, yeah. They're going to have to do the fluff that ego. You know, they have to make Chris Paul feel like he has a role and that he's important.
Oh, important. I think that got cut off there. Wide orbit. That's the system we use. Sometimes it cuts off our audio. I would never begrudge the great Sam Lubman who does these cuts. Wide orbit. Man, cutting these things off. Important. You got to make him feel important. And I think that's what is going to be the most difficult aspect of Steve Kerr's job this year. It's not the X's and O's. They know what they're doing. Hell, Chris Paul talked about it. It's not brain surgery. It's basketball. When I get out there, I know what I'm going to do. And so do the rest of these Warrior players. The problem was the injuries threw everything out of whack last year. No one knew what they needed to do because they weren't playing with the same guys every single night. Different lineups here and there. God, did they have the most different starting lineups in the league? It felt like it anyways. They were one of them. My goodness. But it's not the X's and O's for Steve Kerr that he has to worry about. It's the egos. It's the emotional aspect, which is why a lot of us felt like the loss of Bob Myers was so massive because he was the fire extinguisher. When all the stuff, all the S would hit the fan, there's Bob Myers to put it out. He's got to clean up the mess. But you know what? Damn it. Everyone loves and respects that guy in the organization. Not saying they don't with Kerr, but there's a different level when it's the general manager that comes down to calm Draymond Green down. Who else does that? No one. Steve Kerr and him butt heads constantly. And sometimes they needed that guy that has the respect of not only the head coach, but the players. And that was Bob Myers. And we'll wait to see if that's with Dunleavy. I don't think Mike, all due respect to him, has that same ability as Bob Myers. And maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. He's clearly not afraid to swing big. The speaking skills, solid. There was this way of Bob Myers, and this isn't a shot at Mike Dunleavy, like hell. I wish I was as good as Bob Myers public speaking. I'm speaking on radio to all of you. This guy's amazing. I think whenever he'll pick up his podcast again, he's going to do numbers because he has such a way with connecting to people and making them feel warm and welcome. And he did that with his teammates. Now it's on Steve Kerr. Hey, you got to massage these egos, man. Chris Paul, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, when things aren't going well, when things are not all sunshine and rainbows like they were in the early part of this run, of this dynasty, when things aren't going well, how are you going to calm things down? How are you going to have these team meetings? How are you going to explain to Chris Paul, actually, Chris, during the stretch right now, man, you haven't been playing well. Maybe we bring you off the bench. He's not going to say it like that. He's going to have to be a maestro with the words, the gift of gab, if you will. He's going to have that. And I'm confident in his abilities to do so. Are you? 888-957-9570 is the number to chime in on that. We'll continue to take your calls and texts as it pertains to the Golden State Warriors. If you're just joining us, yes, power's out in the studio if you're on Twitch and YouTube. That's all right. Powering through. Get it? And also, if you're just joining us, 95-7 the game's All-Star Week blowout, still going on. Yes, we've had multiple winners. 6 winners thus far. But we still got round of golf with one of the shows at Berkeley Country Club. Oh, pristine. Anytime you even hear country club, you just, oh, that's going to be fancy. That's going to be nice. And Berkeley, boy, whew, Berkeley Country Club. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Pair of tickets, see Jerry Seinfeld, Jim Gaffigan, plus a gold-blooded Warriors t-shirt, also up for grabs. Klay Thompson, signed jersey, also up for grabs. Not going to want to miss that. $250 gift card, Alexander Steakhouse. That sounds nice. I like steak. I can go for some steak and eggs right now. Steak breakfast burrito. I can eat steak every single meal of my life. Oh, delicious. Always medium rare. Hell, if it's a really great cut, I'll eat that rare. Absolutely. It's got to be bleeding. Got to get the bread in there, soak it all up. Oh, beautiful. My dad would make the best roasts all the time. Oh, now I'm just hungry and I'm hot at 5:21 a.m. here on the pregame show. You know what pairs well with that? Wine. You can win a $250 gift card to Buon Vino, Walnut Creek, and a pair of tickets to Hip Hop Made the Bay at SAP Center, E40, Ice Cube. Oh, I think Too Short might be there. Let's go. November 3rd. So we're still giving away all of that all week long. Be paying attention to the morning roast, Steiny Goo, Willard Dibbs for your shot at winning that. You got to know the show. So you got to be listening and paying attention to all the shows. The first few hours, they're going to quiz you towards the end. If you're paying attention, if you got on the line in time, you will have a chance to win. More sound here to react to. Back to the Warriors. More from Jason Dumas of Cron 4. Talking about Chris Paul. Yeah, got to feed his ego a bit. But he is also here to help the team win. And part of that is unlocking Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga, the young guys of this squad. And Jason thinks Chris Paul will help tremendously with those guys.
I think CP3 is going to really help the youngsters. He's going to help Jonathan Kuminga. He's going to help Moses Moody. It'll be interesting. I'm not sure how much time Pajemski will be here in the Bay. I think he's going to be in Santa Cruz a lot. I saw Trace Jackson Davis working out at their facility. He looks good. He hasn't played yet, but he looks good. I do
like him.
He looked good in the little workout setting I saw. Chris Paul comes in, Steph comes in, and we get thrown out the gym. They're like, all right, time to work out. No more cameras allowed in here. I was trying to linger so I could get some footage of that, and I got a phone call from Ray Ritter.
Jason Dumas, Crom 4 News there. Good morning to Ashley Murphy, 1985, Sideshow Bob, Nicole, Ernie, all you guys, Stunna. Appreciate you guys chiming in this early on the pregame show. Again, Joe Spadoni here for the next 37 minutes. Battling. We're battling the elements. This isn't quite the flu game. I did have my flu game a few months back, a la Michael Jordan, when I was having allergies. Very bad. I forgot my medicine too. So a lot of mic turning off, a lot of sound playing, a lot of sneezes in the background. We were fighting through it. That was my flu game. Today, not so much. We had the door open at least. It's toasty. It's hot. I think I could handle Survivor, the show. If I could do an hour of this, I'm sure I'm fine with Survivor. It's similar, right? Yeah. What's different than having a...
Well, they're all hanging out in the trailers when the cameras stop rolling anyway, right?
I got to be honest. That show's been on for like 23 years, Sammy. I'd never watched one episode. Have you? Were you ever into Survivor at all? Never once. I've never once watched an episode of that show.
When I was younger, like my dad was really into it, so I kind of watched with him. And then I didn't watch it again until Jeff Kent was on it. I wanted to see kind of what he did. And after that, it was like, all right, I've had my fill.
How'd he do? How'd Jeff do in that
He
season?
made like halfway through, and then he got voted out. No one figured out that he was Jeff Kent, though. Like one woman did, but she didn't say anything. But no one else realized it was Jeff Kent.
Well, Jeff Kent is so just picturesque, middle America looking that it's just like, you know what? That could just be some random guy. I mean, he's a big dude, but also it's just like if he had the mustache, which I'm sure he did, it'd be like, oh yeah, that's just some guy. That's
basically some dude with a mustache from Texas. Or something
also,
like that.
Jeff Kent is one of the most generic names I've ever heard in my life. Like that even sounds like a made up name. Jeff Kent, not as much as Birch Smith. Shout out Oakland A's and San Francisco Giants legend Birch Smith, but Jeff Kent's up there. 888-957-9570. You know what else is up there? Our break time. We're getting close to it, so better hit that. We'll